Hi, I'm Zachary Timmis. This is my final pitch for my final major project. Here is the elevator pitch. I'm going to be making a 10 to 15 minute short film following one character in a linear narrative. It will be about one person's journey to escaping a reality they hate. They're stuck in a job they don't want and full of regret for not leading the life they wanted. Over the course of the film, this character will be subjected to dreams that will teach them lessons affecting the real relationships and work life, for better or for worse. I want this to be a showcase that everyone's journey to self actualization is individual and that we all need, as people, is a push to achieve our goals in life. And this can be different for everyone. I haven't fully completed the story, but this is the brief story that I have so far. He gets a job that he secretly didn't want to ever have, and for him, it's a symbol of defeat, of giving up on his dreams and being doomed to the way of his life until he dies. The job is exactly how he expects it to be: corporate, lifeless, and stale, and he feels nothing in common with the people around him. At some point, he finds a mysterious object. It could be a CD, a bag of mushrooms, anything small and usable. I'm leaning more towards a game disc at this point in time, although that could change later on. When he uses this object, it will make him dream, which are going to be the experimental sequences of the film. In these dreams, they will show him his life if he hadn't made all these regrettable decisions, and it will become addicted for him to keep coming back to, and will massively contrast his life in the real world. Eventually, this object will stop working and he can't go back to his dream life, making it obvious that he has to make these changes himself or his real life will stay the same. Now, the dream sequences will be the main focus of the film. There are many experimental techniques I want to incorporate that I've never done before on the course. I want to learn techniques like animation and how to use a green screen and how to properly utilize color theory to give the scenes a distinct visual style that contrasts the real life segments of the film. I have a few inspirations. This is the first one. RYAW_2523 is an artist from Japan who I found on Instagram a few months ago. There's next to no information about them online other than what they've drawn, but they act as my biggest inspiration for the dream sequences I plan to include in my short film. The biggest aspects I want to take is the use of color and how each piece there is a clear, overwhelming use of one color with a small use of another to create a really nice contrast. In addition, each of their illustrations seems so human, except for one thing that gives them an otherworldly sense and feels like something I've dreamt before. My second inspiration is Edgar Wright, the director in general, but more specifically Scott Pilgrim. For the non-dream sequences, I want my film to have the editing style of Edgar Wright's filmography, most specifically Scott Pilgrim. I want my film to reflect real life, but have the heightened naturalistic style of storytelling and editing that Scott Pilgrim brings to the table, most specifically the over-the-top transitions and comic book-esque camera angles that capture the mood and emotion of a character without needing dialogue to fully explain. Scott Pilgrim is my favorite film of all time, and so the ideas for creating something in its style has been in my head for a while now. In addition, it's not only the editing style of the film that's inspired me, but also the narrative in a way. Scott Pilgrim as a character is a huge jerk, so much that you don't want to root for him. However, the journey the film takes him on leads him to redemption, and we as an audience gain a sort of respect for him. The narrative of a character having completely different perception from the audience by the end of the film is something I hope to achieve in mine. And my third and final major inspiration is the graphic novel Seconds by Brian Lee O'Malley. It's a graphic novel called Seconds, and as the same author of Scott Pilgrim graphic novels, which the film was an adaptation of, the story follows a woman who feels lost in life, and upon finding mushrooms that allow her to undo one mistake, spirals into a never-ending pit of undoing her own action until her life becomes unrecognizable. What I mostly want to take from this for this one is the story beats, as I feel like it links to my idea of taking the wrong path in life. Something else I want to take is the style of dialogue writing. In all of Brian Lee O'Malley's comics, his dialogue is always stuck out as quality over quantity, each word sounding natural and like a real conversation, yet also carrying so much meaning that the reader can try and read between the lines if they wanted to. Now, my target audience. The key demographics are the age range. My ideal target audience will be between the ages of 16 to 20, as I believe this is the group that are most likely to relate to the film. The idea of taking the wrong path in life, I feel, will be most prominent around these ages, as it is around the time when everyone will be making extremely important life choices like university and their jobs, etc. Gender. This film won't be catered to any gender specifically, and my goal is for the film to be relatable for anyone regardless of the gender. But the only exception from this that I can think of is the fact that my protagonist will be male. So males might feel as if they can relate a little more, but this isn't my intention. The geographical location. My intended target audience is a worldwide audience, as these are universal themes and experiences that people will feel no matter their country or culture. However, due to maybe the British accents of the characters and the locations, it may cater more towards a British audience. And the other demographics, I'm going to lump all the other demographics here, like economic class and education, as I feel none of them really matter when it comes to my short film, with minor exceptions, such as they have to be wealthy enough to own a device to watch the film on, but I feel like things like this go without saying. Now I have the key psychographics of my target audience, their interests. While I would ideally want this to appeal to everyone, one major interest that my target audience would need to have is short films in general, more specifically experimental ones. If my audience doesn't really enjoy things that are a little bit weird and experimental, they may not enjoy some of the sequences I have planned for the film. They may enjoy the film more, but if they're more interested in indie cinema that cover niche topics as opposed to spectacle driven blockbusters, audience needs and wants, because it is the whole premise of the film, my audience, in order to relate, must be going through some hard decisions in their life, or at least had to make some hard decisions previously. They may want a film with authenticity in these topics, and so I hope to deliver this by making it personal to my own experiences. Where my film will be viewed. My film will be available on all regular viewing platforms such as YouTube, Vimeo, and also my website blog on Wix. I don't think that changes anything about my target audience, as ages 16 to 20 are among the most frequent users of YouTube. And now for the findings from my target audience research. A lot of my target audience research findings can be boiled down to what my target audience want and don't want to see in a short film or piece of media. So we have what they want to see, something that's left open-ended and up for interpretation rather than laid out clearly, which is quite helpful since most short films are left open-ended. A unique approach to storytelling that they haven't seen before, something they can connect with, an incorporation of music, as music seems to be the most popular aspects of media when asking my target audience, and what they don't want to see, cliches they've seen a million times before, bad female representation, trying to make a short film too complicated and more than it actually is. I need to keep my expectations realistic and in check. These findings have influenced my idea generation process in many ways. Firstly, and most obviously, I now know what people don't want to see, and therefore I will avoid all these things. A main focus of my production process will be the subversion of expectations, as it's clearly something that my target audience wants to see, as they stated several times in my questionnaire. Another thing I've done as a result of my research is that it has really made me branch out with my inspiration material. As a result of people wanting something new, I've researched new ways of editing, such as a 90s point and click style videos, that I'm going to incorporate into my film. Now, these are the two mood boards that I've created. The one on the left is for the reality segments of the film, and the one on the right are for the dream slash video game slash whatever's going to happen segments of the film. On the left, you can see it's quite bleak. The color palettes are quite not very visually appealing, and we've got two extremes. We've got the almost clinical office lighting compared with the dark outside lighting, and that's to reflect the fact that he's between two extremes. He's always lit up in the day in these offices, and by the time he gets out, it's nighttime and he's in the darkness. And on the right, it's kind of a mishmash of what I want them to look like, as I don't really have a full idea yet, but hopefully it kind of gives off the vibe that I'm going for. And for the color palettes in the bottom of both of these, I inverted the colors for the reality and the dream sequences, as I want them to really contrast each other and make them seem like they're the opposites of each other. And now these are the requirements I'm going to need. The equipment, I'm going to need a HD quality camera, either the Blackmagic or GH5, a laptop for editing the final product, an iPad for any animations I may do, and luckily I have access to all these things in and out of college, so there's no worries there. And for the cast, I currently have no set people for the cast. I've not begun the casting process, as it's quite early. I do know that I will need at least 3 actors and to use characters and background space fillers. And for locations, there are no current locations that have been definitely set in stone, so I can only go off the ideas I have in my head for the scenes so far. And luckily, most of these will be quite easy to do, such as my room, college buildings, classrooms, the woods. I have some right outside my house, so there should be no issues there. and the podcast room in Alling building, as there are green screens there. These are the potential problems I might run into. One of the biggest problems for me personally is the fact that I might not get everything planned out and done to the best of my ability. I have a dangerous habit of dreaming too big and not having enough time to completely finish it. A way I will work around this is staying true to my schedule, and if I have a sneaking suspicion I won't be able to do a certain thing, then I'll also have a plan B in mind. Another potential problem would be my script writing capabilities not being up to par. I've never written a script before, so I really don't know what I'm expecting to come up with. A way I can work around this is by showing my peers the script ahead of time to make sure it's not too bad. I also have a book on screenplay, so I can also read that and see if I can pick up on anything. And lastly, time management for both me and whoever I have helping out. Because it's a short film, I would need people to hold the camera, people to act, etc., and it's quite daunting to think about. A way I can properly manage this is to plan everything ahead of time and ask people in advance if they would be free to help out. I will also be helping people with their projects, so hopefully they might be able to help me out too. And here is the slide for any questions. And that's the end of my pitch.